Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servadidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. I got John and Pembo with me today on a Friday afternoon. Appreciate everyone tuning in here to give some, we're going to give some baseball picks out. We're going to give some NFL preseason bets out like we did on yesterday's show. So if you got any bets that you want to throw at us for tonight's games or for Saturday's slate, definitely hit us up in the chat here on YouTube, tweet at us as well. But yeah, thanks for everyone joining in today. What's up, John?
Yeah, listen, it's Fantasy Football Expo week here, so Mr. Howard Bender out there holding down the fort in Canton, Ohio. So happy to be here with everybody on a Friday. Hopefully giving out some winning picks today, man.
Yeah, I mean, we hit on a couple last night. Me and James Grande were giving out some picks, and shout out to Bryant Koback, backup running back for the Seahawks. He made a little push there to get the over on give out his underdog prop, his rushing and receiving. So he helped cash that one. Yeah, there we go. Give out the under on the first half of the Patriots game there that, you probably watched a little bit of that and saw a very low scoring first half.
The question really now is whether or not Malik Cunningham is better than Mac Jones. That's really the only question I have on my mind right now.
He can certainly make plays with his legs. Mac Jones cannot do that. I know that much. So, an interesting night. I did not hit on the gave out another pick. I think it was Jaron Hall, the backup quarterback for the Vikings, did not get over his rushing yards prop. Didn't get as much playing time as I thought he might. So
that's the struggles, right? I mean, I did the player props for Prize Picks.
Yeah,
and you do your best, right? You're reading all the reports. These guys are getting hyped up in camp. You're like, all right, here we go. Like Xavier Holiday, right? Holiday is going to go get a bunch of carries in the second half for the Texans. Didn't touch the ball until like halfway through the fourth quarter. And he had 3 carries. I'm like, great. I mean, what am I supposed to do here? Singletary played. Mike Boone played. Was it Dokes? I think was the other guy that got carries there. You can only do as much research as Twitter will, or X, or whatever you want to call it, will allow you to do here. I did the DFS playbook. I guess I was proud of myself that we got the Bobo touchdown. Right, that was a big one there.
There you go.
Some good reports from Seahawks.com. Wrote an article about him kind of popping. Came through for the DFS family there. So
there we go. Yeah, if you checked out John's playbook from last night, you would have gotten some good plays in that lineup. But yeah, we got a bunch of games tonight, and that's where we want to start here. We will be talking some baseball picks for Friday night as well, of course, but got to start with some NFL preseason action because we got football back here in our TVs and our sports books odds here. You can see all the games we got tonight. We got 6 games on the slate tonight, and some of these odds here. I'll give out my first bet here, and I'm going with the Browns on the money line. A little bit expensive. I got minus 160 on FanDuel, but right now on DraftKings, it's about minus 170. But I still think this is gonna. I just have confidence in the Browns to win this game overall. Not even looking at the first half or anything. I think full game here because an interesting trend. So they played in the Hall of Fame game, right, and won it. The last 7 Hall of Fame game winners to win that game in their next preseason game, having a leg up, having a game under their belt and all that, they've gone 5-2 in the last 7 instances. So, and the past 2 years have cashed that. Raiders and Steelers both won their Hall of Fame game, then came back and won their second game. And I think this is a good spot to back the Browns because, Washington comes in here with a new offense that they're trying to roll out with Eric Bieniemy now in town as the new OC. And I think, from reading reports, as you mentioned, kind of trying to look at reports on Twitter and beat writers, it seems like there's been some, slight hiccups with just kind of the offense getting rolling and everyone trying to get down to this new playbook, RPOs and all that stuff. And we got Sam Howell, expected to start tonight for the Commanders. But I don't think he's going to be out there too long. So we'll probably see some Jacoby Brissett. But he's a veteran, and I don't think we see him too long. So
Right.
we're probably looking at Jake Fromm as a third stringer out there for the bulk of this game. But then on the Browns side of things, we saw them pull out that Hall of Fame game win in the second half because Dorian Thompson-Robinson came out and just started making plays,
right.
With his legs, leading a couple scoring drives. And he's got that motivation to try to fight for the backup spot to Deshaun Watson for the Browns. And I think he's going to, have more motivation tonight when he gets in the game, probably in the for most of the second half. And I think he's going to pull out another Browns win here. So, yeah, give me the Browns on the money line, minus 160 on FanDuel.
I mean, yeah, listen, it is the preseason, so obviously it's very difficult to cap a lot of these games here, but you just look at sort of the talent that's on the field and what you think. We don't really think highly of the Commanders starters for the most part. So as you get deeper down the depth chart here, you would think the Browns, depth should be greater. So I'll roll with you on that one as well.
And just having that game under their belt, just thinking about even the backup defenders, backup offensive players already having kind of an experience of playing in a game environment, whereas if Commanders are kind of jumping in this on the road too, for that matter. But what's you got any picks for tonight? I think we're on a similar game here, but what do you got?
Yeah, listen, I looked at the Cardinals Broncos game. I went under 37.5 points total for this one. Mostly because I don't think Arizona is going to score much. They're not projected to score much during the regular season with their starters. So again, I kind of look at, the team that they have, the matchup they're going up against. I do expect Denver to kind of bounce back, but I just think on a whole, Denver's just a much more talented team. So you go deep into this Cardinals depth and are they going to be able to move the football? Are they going to be able to score it all? So 37.5 points. Denver's probably going to win this game, and I'll just take the under because I don't think Arizona is going to put much up here offensively.
Yeah, I can get behind that. And my pick for this game is kind of a similar vein there of what you just said. And I like the Broncos in the first quarter on the spread there, just to be a half a point they're favored on DraftKings. And it's basically, you mentioned, I think the overall talent for the Broncos is just better, especially in the starting units. And we're expected to see Russell Wilson start for Denver tonight, which I think is huge. I think, with him, Sean Payton, obviously now in as Denver's head coach, I feel like the team's going to be a little bit motivated, at least the starting unit, to kind of play with a little bit of fresh breath into that team and that offense specifically. So I think Russell Wilson, kind of banking on him to lead a scoring drive or two maybe while he's in there in the first quarter, and just leaving it to the first quarter because I'm not really banking on the rest of the backups to get a lot of scoring. As you mentioned, you like the under there. The Cardinals, by the way, starting Colt McCoy, it looks like, with Kyler Murray out. So
and they'll go Clayton Tune after that, and
Clayton
then
Tune,
who knows whatever they got even behind him. So
right,
that's kind of how I'm looking at it, right? Doesn't seem like we're gonna have a lot of scoring here. So.
I don't know exactly where I saw this stat, but that key number you got, 37.5. It's been one of those key numbers for preseason games where the under on totals that are 37 or higher has been the more profitable way to go. Just with maybe the public backing, thinking a higher scoring game, but the sharp angle has been kind of looking at the under for some of these higher totals in the preseason.
Yeah. I know a lot of the player props, a lot of people tend to try to go over on, but because the playing time in preseason is so inconsistent, the unders are actually cashing on a lot of these totals. Now, last night, Locke's passing yards, he was projected for the most passing yards of the slate is 130. Those are almost 200. So, I mean, it's you never know how some of these guys perform. But for the most part, unders have been cashing in on the player props early on.
Well, on that note, I'm going with an over on a player prop tonight. Over on Underdog Fantasy, you can get this one, 27.5 receiving yards for Jameson Williams.
Sure.
So looking at some of the reports are, so obviously we know Jameson Williams suspended to start the season, but the head coach, Dan Campbell, and the OC have both said, we're looking to get Williams a lot of playing time in the preseason because he didn't do a lot last year when he was injured, and then only totaled one catch of the games he did play last year. they've said they're looking to play Williams a lot, get him a lot of game action. And I'm thinking it starts tonight with Jameson Williams. So give me the over on his receiving yards. 27.5 is low for if you consider maybe he catches 3 passes.
One play. He's a downfield guy.
Yeah.
He's a downfield guy. They'll take shots on him early probably. So that's definitely not a bad one. Because like you said, you're looking for guys that are going to be on the field consistently enough. We saw JSN hit the over on his receiving prop last night as well. So some of these young guys are out there early. Tank Dell had a really good game yesterday going up against New England starting defense. So, if you want to take anything away from the prospects of Tank Dell this year, he was almost uncoverable running horizontally across the field. That speed is ridiculous. So, I could catch the receiver props here going over.
Yeah, but it is obviously risky taking the overs on any props. But I think if the smoke around this Williams, playing more than normal starting receivers would, then I think we can take the over here.
Sure.
So looking at that, and then the last one I'll throw out is I feel like this is just kind of like it should be a 50-50 bet, but getting the Lions at plus money on the money line tonight as short home underdogs against the Giants. I like it because the Giants, so we don't know for sure whether Daniel Jones will play tonight or not. I don't think he will, but they're likely going with Tyrod Taylor as their backup getting the start. But I'd also, similar with Jacoby Brissett, he's a veteran quarterback, doesn't need a lot of preseason time. So it seems like we're going to get a lot of Tommy DeVito for the Giants here at quarterback, especially for the second half. And honestly, I watched this guy at Syracuse. I watched him at Illinois in college. He's just okay. He's not. I don't think he's an NFL caliber quarterback. No offense to him. So I just see this as a big downgrade for like the quarterback room for the Giants. And the Lions. They just recently signed Teddy Bridgewater as like their backup to Jared Goff, who also won't play tonight, but Bridgewater won't play. It's going to be Nate Sudfeld, who's going to get a lot of playing time in this game. And he's got some motivation here, kind of reading through some reports, because he's going to be wanting to fight for that main backup spot, fight for a roster spot in general for the Lions here. So I like this Lions offense. I mentioned they're going to play Jameson Williams at least to start in the first half. So I just like the value here on the Lions money line. I just think it should be more of a 50-50, even money, but getting plus 110 on BetMGM.
Yeah, I think if you can find teams that have like quarterback depth of veteran players, like there's a good chance to take them in those second half games. Again, just kind of going back to what the Patriots had to deal with Houston. They started Stroud, but then they went to Davis Mills and they closed the game with Case Keenum. And Case Keenum has won playoff games in the NFL, right? He was throwing all over the Patriots' fourth and fifth string defensive backs because he's a backup caliber QB in the NFL competing on Houston here. So if you go find a team where maybe they're second or third string, like you mentioned Sudfeld, a guy that has experience playing games in the NFL, he can take advantage of some of those weaker defenses just because he's used to the pace of the NFL. Yeah,
and as I mentioned, Tommy DeVito is watch him prove me wrong tonight, but it's not great for him in college. He was like a Syracuse. He's a New York guy, so I feel like that's maybe why he's on the Giants roster right now. But we'll see if what he does. So yeah, give me the Lions there. If you guys got any picks, as I mentioned, throw them in the chat here, and we'll touch on them. We got a bunch of other games tonight, so and tomorrow night we got almost a full slate. So it'll be cool to watch some of these games. One little teaser for tomorrow. Just kind of looking at, if you look at like head coaches against the spread in the preseason, if you haven't noticed, John Harbaugh takes these preseason games very seriously. He's got a very good against the spread record, and he's facing the Eagles, who I think Nick Sirianni has he's like 1-4 or something against the spread in his couple years as the Eagles head coach. So that's just kind of a little nugget if you want to look to tomorrow's games. Look for the Ravens there. All right, let's flip gears to tonight. We got a bunch of baseball games, full slate of games to dive into and give some betting picks out to the people. So let's do that. But first, I just want to remind you guys, as we were talking about football, if you haven't already, go get the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Football Draft Guide and the Fantasy Football Cheat Sheet for free with an all-pro subscription over at Fantasy Alarm. You can get a free 7-day trial to Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription right now. Just go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide or /draft. You can get that free 7-day trial, and you get the draft guide and the cheat sheet for free. And this cheat sheet, I mean, just the rankings, we got drafts coming up in our own leagues, but I'm sure you guys all have drafts coming up. So you want to get this cheat sheet just so you can, print it out or just have it in front of you on the computer. Rankings, tiered rankings for all formats, Dynasty, PPR. You get that one-on-one expert analysis in the Discord for live help during your draft as well. So yeah, go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide to get that free 7-day trial.
Yeah, a lot of great things happening right now. As you mentioned, it's fantasy football expo is this week. We come out of that week and we're like 4 Sundays away from football. So definitely got a lot of drafts come up. I always tell everybody though who asks, wait as long as possible to do your drafts. I have pretty much loaded up my draft schedule for the first week of September there. Just knowing that the kickoff is on the 7th. Get through all of these training camps, get through all the preseason games. Hope those guys come out healthy. Plus, we still don't know where Ezekiel Elliott is, Kareem Hunt is, Leonard Fournette is, Dalvin Cook is. So how are you drafting those guys without knowing where their landing spots are? So you gotta wait.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where those guys land, and we'll have those updates for you guys in the draft guide and cheat sheet. All right, let's look to tonight's games. We got a bunch of bets to give out to everyone and do our best bets for tonight. So what's your top pick tonight, John?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Tarek Skubal here, over 5.5 strikeouts going up against the Boston Red Sox. Again, as a Red Sox fan, I've had the, we'll call it privilege loosely, of watching this team lately struggle against some lesser opponents. I mean, yeah, sure, they won 3 of 4 from the Royals, but like barely. James Paxton pitched really well the other day, but we watched Cole Reagans in that first game strike out 11. Red Sox here. And then you want to go over the last 2 weeks. The Red Sox have a 28% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. So, Tarek Skubal here coming back from his injury, starting to round back into shape. We know he can definitely get the strikeout numbers up there. And the Red Sox lineup just has a lot of swing and miss in it right now. A lot of their best hitters are from the left side of the plate. If you look at guys like Casas, Yoshida, Verdugo, Devers, so you take those guys out of the lineup, removes them around the lineup, and you're inputting in some backup guys that have swing and miss potential. So give me Skubal over the 5.5 strikeouts at -110 tonight.
Yeah, and over the last 3 games, Trevor Story in the lineup for the Red Sox, and he alone is accounted for 7 strikeouts in these last 3. So he's come in, thought he'd maybe be a spark plug, but hasn't done a ton. So
still beating up on that AAA pitching, can't hit the major league pitching. So.
Yeah, he's looking for the home runs, I guess, at this point. Tough one there. All right, my best bet for tonight, I'm going with the Astros on the first 5 innings on the run line, -120 on BetMGM. It's Verlander tonight for the Astros, making his home debut with them for this season at least. And he was good last start for them against the Yankees. Allowed 2 runs over 7 innings. The Astros did not win that game, unfortunately, but Verlander looked good, and over the last since his last 7 starts since the start of July, he's got a 1.83 ERA now in this span. Has really been just looking solid for the Astros now, and a great pickup for them. And in his career at Minute Maid Park, we know he's got a ton of experience here. 2.46 ERA over his career in Houston, and remember, this is a guy that last year was a stud in this rotation. Right. At home last year, he had a 1.64 ERA at home and had really good home numbers with the Mets earlier this year. So I think he's going to do his thing. And the Angels have poor numbers against righties over the past week. 295 WOBA, a high 27% strikeout rate. So I have confidence in the Verlander side of things. And I think Reed Detmers for the Angels is going to give up some runs here. He has a 6.86 ERA since the All-Star break, over 4 starts. He's faced the Astros twice this year. He's allowed 8 total runs in those 2 starts. And the Astros have been crushing left-handed pitching lately. 392 WOBA, 272 ISO over the past 2 weeks versus left-handed pitching. So give me the Astros in the first 5. Verlander going to do his thing. Yeah,
the dangerous thing with the Astros lineup there against Detmers is there's no real reprieve. Their best two hitters, Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, though hitting from the left side of the plate, actually hit lefty and pitching really well. So,
they do.
It's not like, oh, I got a breather here, lefty on lefty. It's like not the case. Kyle Tucker is like one of the best hitters against left-handed pitching in baseball, and he's a left-handed hitter. So, you got to deal with Altuve, Bregman, Jordan, Tucker, Chas McCormick, Yadier Diaz this year has been unbelievable. So, just a really tough lineup to go through.
Well, on that note, I'll throw out a player prop here because this is another one of my picks tonight. Kyle Tucker, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, because you mentioned he's just crushing lefties. 345 batting average against left-handed pitching, 426 WOBA as well, 597 slug too in this split. And in his career versus Detmers, hitting 357 in a decent amount of experience there. And Reed Detmers, I mentioned his bad numbers since the All-Star break. And against left-handed hitters for him, he's actually allowing a 312 batting average and a 519 slug. And Tucker, he's gone over this 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 8 of his last 11 games coming into tonight. So I like it on DraftKings minus 135. Give me Kyle Tucker here.
Yeah, love that play. Again, Detmers got hammered in his last start too. A really tough matchup for him. And it's not going to get much easier for him. So I've been playing a lot of Tucker in DFS. It's a great player prop here this evening. For me, a guy that's been on fire is Nick Castellanos. He gets a left-handed pitcher in Dallas Keuchel here this evening. Castellanos hammers left-handed pitching. So I'm actually going to go over the 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs here tonight at plus 125. It's just the way he's been rolling right now. The home run cashes it for you. Get a guy on base in front of him, he drives him in. Guy behind him drives him in. You get a couple hits. I'm just gonna Dallas Keuchel, I think, got away with that start against Arizona in that start. I don't see that happening against Philly here tonight. So give me Castellanos over the 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at plus odds.
Yeah, Castellanos has been rolling lately. I love that pick, and almost looked at it too tonight. But I like that you're going with the plus odds on the 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Right back to that one. I got a couple picks for the Phillies tonight. You mentioned Keuchel. I mean, so that start, he only allowed 1 run over 5 innings. But if you look at it, he allowed 8 hits and 2 walks with 0 strikeouts in that game. He got out of a few jams. It could have been a lot worse. And I think, the Phillies are an offense where against left-handed pitching for them, they're smashing lefties. 356 WOBA, 275 ISO, 123 WRC plus in this split over the past couple weeks here. And they just faced 2 lefties the past 2 games, Mackenzie Gore and Patrick Corbin, and they had good success. They put up a bunch of runs against both those guys. So I think that familiarity, just facing 2 lefties back-to-back, now getting a third one, I like them tonight. So, I'm giving the Phillies team total over in the first 5 innings, limiting it on DraftKings, over 2.5. I just don't see how Keuchel isn't allowing, 3+ runs here because he's, this is still a guy, dude, he had a 9.20 ERA last year. We can't forget this.
I know that's why I was so stunned.
No, I know. Yeah. But for everyone else,
Arizona.
Everyone else seeing after his first start, he has like a 1-something ERA. This is still a guy that over the past 2 years has gotten killed. So, and by the way, kind of diving into it, and I wrote about some of these stats in the MLB Underdog Picks article. If you want to kind of look at more for that, but he did not do too well in AAA before coming up. His on-surface numbers, as I mentioned, were fine, but his FIP, he had a lot of walks and hits allowed. So I think it's a tough spot for him. And then kind of just adding on to that, another player prop. I mentioned I like Castellanos as you're going with, but I'm going with Trey Turner over 1.5 total bases. This guy's been he's been catching fire. He's been looking more like Trey Turner that we know. In this current homestand for the Phillies over the past 7 games, he's hitting 370, 8 RBIs, 2 home runs, 6 extra base hits in this span, and he's gone for over 1.5 total bases in 6 straight games coming into tonight. So I don't think this matchup against Keuchel cools him off tonight.
Now, listen, like you said, they sent him down to the 8th spot. I think it was a wake-up call for Trey Turner because he's been incredible since that lineup demotion. Now, obviously, they have him all the way back up there. No Bryce Harper in the lineup. He left last night with back spasms, but still have guys like Alec Boehm and whatnot in that lineup that can do some damage against JT Realmuto last night homered. So some guys that can do some damage against left-handed pitching there. For me, I'm going to go tried and true. I'm going to go Matt Olson over 1.5 total bases here. I mean, again, minus 110 on DraftKings money line over there. Going up against Tyler McGill, a guy that has really struggled against left-handed hitters. And, of course, we know Matt Olson here, a guy that leads the league in home runs, ridiculous slugging percentage and isolated power numbers against right-handed pitching. So Olson over the 1.5 total bags. It just takes a swing to do it. Why not tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he homered last night, right? And he's been this is one of those bets, as you mentioned, just kind of like set it and forget it, and it usually will cash. Same thing with this like home run prop.
More often than it's not hitting. So
yeah,
play it, right.
We got a comment in the chat. Appreciate Mark Pitts chiming in here. Do we like Seager over 1.5 bases? Seems always in play. Yeah, he's one of those hitters as well, where it's like it hits him. Olson, Kyle Tucker, where you can just kind of go with their props and feel really good about it. Seager and the Rangers are facing, just kind of looking through it because I didn't have this one, facing the Giants tonight. Scott Alexander starting for the Giants. Scott Alexander's a lefty, right?
Yeah, he's also an opener. So
okay.
They'll go to a bullpen somebody in this game for them. So
but even against, he'll have one at bat, I guess, against Alexander at least, and he's hit lefties really well
too. So he doesn't even matter. So I don't mind that play, Mark. The over 1.5 total bags. I think I know you play Stripling will be the long guy.
Okay,
there. That's fine. Totally cool going there.
I feel good about the Giants or the Rangers side of things in that matchup against Stripling, anyway. So
100%.
Over on DraftKings, I'm looking Kyle Seager or Corey Seager minus 110 to the over. So pretty much even there to get over 1.5 total bases. I like that too. Yeah. Good call, Mark.
I mean, elite hitters at 1.5 total bags, right? Like he's hitting over 300 for the year. The man has 1,000 OPS, I think, on the season. So one swing of the bat and he's he's going. Are they on the road? Yeah, they're in San Francisco, right? So it takes away a little bit of the home run potential for him there, but I don't mind that at all. My next play, I'm going Juan Soto here over 1.5 total bags as well. A guy that is just hammering right-handed pitching on the season. And he finds himself just in another really good matchup here tonight for the Padres. Their matchup against Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson against lefties is just getting absolutely mashed. And Arizona's been a favorable hitting environment here, so going Soto over the 1.5 total bags at minus 105 feels pretty good. Again, anytime you can kind of get almost even money on these elite hitters, right, on their total base numbers here. And Soto's been hot just in general lately after a slow start, doing everything he can to sort of carry the Padres, I think, maybe into a playoff spot to close out the year.
Yeah, getting pretty much even odds on over total bases there is nice. I almost went with Soto as my home run call tonight, so I can get behind that one. I'm going to go to the Pirates here and go with the Pittsburgh Pirates in the first 5 innings, money line minus 110 on DraftKings. It's Johan Oviedo on the mound for Pittsburgh, and he's been really effective lately. 2.32 ERA over his last 5 starts since the All-Star break. And he's just been really productive for this Pittsburgh rotation. And the Reds have been, they're an offense that's been very inconsistent. A month ago, I would not be betting against their offense, but lately it's just they're averaging just 3.3 runs per game over the last week here. 1 in 8 over the last 9 games here too as well overall. But against righties specifically, over the past week, 303 WOBA, just a 225 batting average, and a 35% strikeout rate against right-handers. This young offense just kind of maybe forcing the issue. Teams are starting to figure them out. The scouting report is out on some of these young hitters, and it's just they're not as dangerous right now. So I'll back Oviedo for that side, and then the other side for the Reds, Andrew Abbott. He's got an impressive 2.93 ERA, but some of the underlying numbers are a bit worrisome for him. A 3.97 FIP, high expected ERA as well. He's got a high left on base rate, a low BABIP right now. And we've seen some of these, shakier outings start to come here in recent starts. 6 runs allowed to the Nats last start, 4 runs allowed to the Cubs in his previous outing. So Even though the Pirates aren't the best offense to back, but I just see some Abbott regression here. So give me Oviedo against Abbott, at least in the first 5 innings. And then Oviedo as well, under 5.5 hits allowed. I like that prop for him too, minus 135 on DraftKings. And when you look at him, I mentioned his strong streak here, 2.32 ERA, but a 147 batting average against in his last 5 starts. And he's been under this prop, under 5.5 hits allowed in 4 of his last 5 outings too. So, and going back further, 10 of his last 16 have gone under this prop too. So, give me Oviedo in this against this kind of shaky Reds offense.
Yeah, the only thing that really does damage against Oviedo this year has been the left-handed bats, and obviously Jake Fraley not healthy for that Reds lineup right now. He's their leading RBI guy. They have TJ Friedel, they have Ellie De La Cruz. I'm trying to think Joey Votto will hit from the left side there. I'm trying to go from memory on who Will Benson, I guess, would probably hit from the left side in that lineup. So, if he can navigate his way through those lefties, he should be fine, because those are really the only numbers that are doing, any sort of damage against him. The Abbott one is where something has to give. To your point, and we go back and forth on this when we talk DFS a lot, is a lot of the FanGraphs, sabermetric numbers aren't favorable towards Abbott. But then you go look at Pittsburgh, and the last couple of weeks here against left-handed pitching, they have a 0.80 ISO, which is almost non-existent. They have a 210 batting average, a 260 WOBA. So, they're not doing anything. Their wins run created is 8. They have no offense coming against left-handed pitching right now. But if Abbott plays to his 4.5 FIP, then, and not his current ERA, then maybe there's something to do there. Because despite all of those poor numbers, Pittsburgh only a 20% strikeout rate against lefties during that time frame. So, it could just be that they're being a little snake bitten when they put the ball in play, not getting the batting average and balls in play luck, only a 260 BABIP for them there. But anytime you see an ISO start off with O, you're not doing courage there. So something will give there. Either Abbott will dominate, or those balls will start falling in for Pittsburgh, and they'll be able to recover.
So all those numbers you mentioned is why I was a little worried about it. But I did look at just kind of thinking back to what they've done recently. The Pirates offense, just overall, they just went through a series with Atlanta where they scored 5 runs in all 4 games, and won 2 of those. Yeah. So maybe not against lefties. They haven't been, crushing it, but I just think there's value in basically getting the Pirates on the first 5.
They called up a whole bunch of young kids too. That's now that Pirates lineup is sort of flipped around. So a lot of names that you probably couldn't place if you weren't already familiar with their roster,
Yeah, I'm looking at their lineup right now for tonight. And we got in the 8-9 holes, we got Leover Piguero and Alika Williams, which honestly I don't know who they are. So
not many people will. I mean, they called up that catching prospect Rodriguez, who was a top 20 prospect in baseball. He's been fine. They still obviously have Brian Reynolds, but Jack Swinski's been their best power hitter, but he's a lefty. So it's not a great split matchup for them. They let go of Rodolfo Castro. He actually had some of their best ISO numbers against left-handed pitching this year, and obviously not on the roster anymore. So, there's some turnover on that lineup where you're not really sure. You don't have any sort of sample sizes to play off of yet, where it comes to okay, this guy historically hits well versus A versus B. A lot of these guys are new to the team. We don't really know what they're at.
Yeah. All right. What you got another pick you like tonight?
Yeah, I got a couple. I like Corbin Burns over 6.5 strikeouts tonight against the White Sox. Again, this is the same White Sox lineup that we saw Dane Dunning have double-digit strikeouts against. They have a 25% strikeout rate against righties. Basically for the month here and around the year, they're sitting around 25%. So give me Corbin Burns over the 6.5 Ks here for him. And then I also like plus money here, Luis Castillo over 2.5 earned runs. Cedric Mullins back in the lineup tonight for Baltimore, and Luis Castillo has trouble with the home run ball. Gave up another couple of home runs in his last start. He had a 2-start stretch where he didn't give up any home runs, but before that, he had given up 11 in 4 starts. So the fact that it's 2.5 earned runs and that's plus money for a team that has guys that can put the ball in the stands, like an Adley Rutschman, like a Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle, this is a pretty powerful offense here that Castillo is going up against. So Give me the over 2.5 earned on that one tonight.
Yeah, I like that one. I definitely love the Burns one. I looked at the Brewers, first five or maybe their run line against the White Sox here because Burns has really been, he's kind of flipped into like that Cy Young contender that we got used to seeing. He started out slow this year, but he's really picked it up lately. Had some trouble with the walks, but the strikeout prop against the White Sox is always a good one, so I could back it.
Well, that's how I'm right? Like any
yeah.
team that allows Dane Dunning to get 10 strikeouts, you just throw other righties at him and see what they can do. So,
yeah, some of these strikeouts lately, like you mentioned, the Cole Raggins one getting 11 Ks.
11 Ks, yeah, it's unbelievable. Even the other day,
here,
like Kyle Hendricks against the Mets had like 7. Right? It's you're not really expecting Hendricks to have a strikeout ceiling game, but there he is, out of nowhere popping Ks.
Yeah.
Out, so.
We had another comment here in the chat. Michael Rojas chiming in. Angels on the run line in the first 3 innings. I gotta say I'm against it because one of my best bet, if you missed it earlier, was the Astros on the first 5 innings on the run line. So I do think they get it done in the first 3 as well because Verlander has been very strong lately on a very strong run here, and the Angels have not been good against right-handed pitching. And on the other side, Detmers has had some blow-up outings lately, has been very rough, and the Astros are just hammering left-handed pitching. So I would not back the Angels, honestly, on the first 3 innings. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the one thing that maybe you could worry about is the home run ball. I mean, he's been better about it, obviously, this year, giving up home runs. He's only allowed 10 through 17 games. This season, last year he was really good. He only allowed 12 total home runs, but a couple of years before that, he gave up 36 and 28. So, Ohtani does exist. So, he could just as easily give up a solo shot early and, that team gets held down. But again, we're both in on the Astros against Detmers. So, even if he gives up the solo home run in the first, we expect Detmers to allow a couple of runs here through the first couple innings to give Houston a padded lead. So,
yeah. By the way, and the Angels, I'm looking on DraftKings if that's where you're looking at, Michael. It's -140 for the Angels on that run line to get the half a run there. So honestly, the -140 kind of pushes me away too because I'd rather take a chance on the Astros at plus money there to be leading after 3. Because if Verlander is smart at all, which I think he is, he's a veteran pitcher. I see him, he's going to be cautious with Ohtani. He's not going to let Ohtani take him deep here.
You would hope not. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of teams that go into approaching Ohtani being like,
True.
I won't let this guy go deep on me. And then he does. It's probably one of the more infuriating things when we break down slates. It's like, all right, I like this guy as long as they don't throw to Matt Olson. Then they throw to Matt Olson. He hits a home run. You're like, just pitch around the guy. What are we doing? Why are we even giving him anything to hit here? I'll take my chances with almost anybody else in the lineup. You should be doing that with the Angels. Like Bryce Harper, I think it was like 3 years ago, led the league in walks because no team would throw the ball anywhere near where he was at the plate. They were talking about it because he had like a high strikeout rate and a low batting average because he was chasing so much. He's like, yeah, man, I just get frustrated. They're not throwing me any strikes. So I just lose my patience and swing. Just walk Ohtani. What's the point of pitching to him when he's hitting home runs every other time? So it makes no sense.
Well, and especially with Ohtani in a much more less dangerous offense in the Angels than Olsen with the Braves. Right. I mean, the Braves have guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd rather walk Ohtani than walk Olsen if walk
Ohtani to face Brandon Drury or walk Olsen to face Austin Riley. Yeah, so I hear you.
But the Harper one was that's why the Phillies went out and got a bunch of bats to make sure they protected him a little bit, and I think it's probably helped.
We're not throwing him the baseball. It was a wild season. Why is he walking so much? It's like they just won't throw a ball near the strike zone to me. So
yeah. All right, so those are all our picks for tonight, and before we get out of here, we got to give out some home run calls for tonight. So let's get to our daily dingers.
And that baby is gone.
Now that's a dinger.
All right, John, who you got going deep tonight? I think it's a guy we've been talking about already.
Yeah, a little correlation play here with my Castellanos over 2.5. hits, runs, and RBIs at plus 125. That's because I like his home run tonight at plus 450 going up against Dallas Keuchel. So you can cash all the plus money plays you want on Castellanos tonight. Man is on fire. So let's continue to roll with the hot hand here and get the homer tonight at plus 450.
Yeah, he's been rolling, and I could see him going deep again tonight for sure. I like that call. I'm going with Christian Yelich, going against Michael Kopech tonight, plus 370 on DraftKings. Kopech has been, just kind of inconsistent and in home starts, 11 home starts this year. He has 16 home runs allowed at home, a much higher home run allowed rate at home than on the road. And Yelich coming in swinging a hot bat, 345 batting average over the last 7 games. Not hitting for a ton of power right now, but he does have 13 of his 16 home runs this year against right-handed pitching, and he's got a 519 slug against righties as well. So I got him going deep, plus 370.
Yeah, I like it. A career resurgence here for Yelich that I think many were basically just writing off after the last 2 seasons. He goes, MVP, runner-up MVP, and then non-existent for 2 years, and now he's right back, putting up some all-star level production.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see him and, Cody Bellinger bounce back too. Like these guys that were just, MVPs, but then all of a sudden it's like they just kind of go through a lull.
Probably change the baseballs again, so all of a sudden they can go back to hitting. You never know.
Yeah, well, Bellinger was probably planning to try to get traded, but they did not do that. So
right, good for them. I mean, they're surging now, right? So
yeah. So that'll do it for us. Appreciate everyone tuning in here. Again, we gave out some preseason bets for tonight's NFL games. If you missed those, you can go back and watch some of the picks that me and John gave out. And then obviously all of our betting picks for tonight. We gave out plenty for you guys tonight. And we'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern. But stay tuned here on Bettor Sports Network because we got a bunch of shows tonight. John and Pemba. He'll be on at 5 p.m. Eastern with James Grande talking some MLB DFS on that Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show. 6 p.m. Eastern, we have the Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast with Matt Sells and Colby Conway. Then 7 p.m. Eastern, Campus to Canton with Felix, Chris, Austin, and Matt. And by the way, if you missed it already, the FSGA College Fantasy Football Draft is over live on Bettor Sports Network YouTube channel. You can search the FSGA College Fantasy Draft. I was on there as a guest. They brought me on to break down some of the picks that people are making. But check out the full fantasy draft for college because the college football season is right around the corner, and this fantasy football draft for college football is very interesting to kind of see where some of these guys go, some of the players, and where Caleb Williams in a 2-quarterback format, all that stuff. So definitely tune in, catch that on the Bettor Sports Network YouTube channel with the Campus to Canton guys. All right, so that'll do it for us. Again, stay tuned for MLB DFS Live with John and James. And again, we'll be back on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. But appreciate everyone tuning in here. Bettor Sports Betting on Bettor Sports Network. And we'll see you later. Good luck.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.